Hi, it's Lynn Shuck with Healing in Balance. We're going to look at more arm actions. Again, these are considered fundamentals, but that doesn't mean they're easy for any of us. Simple isn't easy. Most of us are missing a lot of these actions and don't know how to work there because we've been working in the joints. So we're going to now work on the frontal plane, meaning lateral actions, working above and below the joints, in toward the midline, out away from the midline. A lot of us, when we come into poses that are on all fours, whether it's table or downward dog or incline, the shoulders collapse in, the weight in the hands goes to the outside edge of the hand, and we need to counter those things. So with a simple verbal instruction, if you tried to squeeze your forearms in toward each other, you will suddenly get more weight to the inside edge of your hand. And you'll start to feel arm muscles working as opposed to hanging out in the heel of your hand and in your shoulders. As you hug those forearms in, you may feel your body, as you can see, lift slightly away from the floor. At the same time, could you imagine that you're in a very narrow hallway and you have to press your upper arms out into that narrow hallway? There's walls on either side of you. So my forearms are hugging in toward each other just above the wrist, and I'm pressing out at the top of the arm. Again, if I'm looking at the arm, it's in just above the wrist, in toward the midline, out at the top of the arm, near the shoulder. Now, if I had partners, in the before times when we had partners, I would have a partner put their hands on the inside of my wrists. They would push out, I would push in, and that would create more weight resistance, which would wake up those muscles better than just the verbal instruction. There's not a good way to create that without partners. You can kind of do it with blocks, sort of, but it takes a bit of adjusting to get them in place and have them not move on you, right? So they'd already disappeared. If you have something longer, and most people don't have something like this that's one piece, I could do this and I could press in. And yes, my hands are wider than my shoulders right now in order to find that. So you could use a piece of equipment to create that. But I do find that telling people to hug their arms in, people can find that instruction. Out at the top of the shoulders is a lot harder and subtler. And this is where it is easy to use a prop. If you have a yoga belt, you make a loop in the belt, and you're going to slip your arms in. You're going to slip it pretty high up on your arms and make sure that you can have your hands at the right distance apart and press into the belt. So I am pressing out into the belt and hugging my forearms in toward each other. This gets me out of all my joints, and I can get weight to the inside edge of my hand and not roll to the outside. I can open the chest as I draw those arms apart. And by putting it up high, I don't end up bending the elbows. So if you're somebody who bends your elbows and you put it down at the elbow height, there's a tendency to use the elbows to do the work. If you're somebody whose elbows hyperextend, put the belt a little bit lower. Put it more in the middle of the arm and press out there. So that, and by hyperextend, I mean those elbows actually bow in toward the midline. They're not two straight lines when you look at them. I can't even demonstrate it because my body doesn't move that way. So once more, these instructions are in above the wrist and out at the top of the arm. That's it. If you want to incorporate the front and back actions here too, it would be taking the upper arms back and the forearms forward and in above the wrists and out at the top of the arm. And maybe only one or two of those instructions is useful to you right now. Maybe you like pressing in, but you also like pushing back. And maybe you like pressing out, but you need to press forward. Finding one of those two actions in the forearm, in or forward, or one of the two actions in the upper arm, back or out, you're going to put it together for yourself and find a way to make it work. If you aren't sure what the front and back actions are, look at the previous video and you can review what that is or learn what that is. All right, there you go. We've got two different videos now on fundamentals of arm actions. Go.